Hey everyone, welcome to Area 616. Last Friday I made a video called What Marvel Studios Should Do with the Fantastic Four, a video that was the first of 3 of its kind. Today comes probably the meatiest one of them, which is What Marvel Studios Should Do with the X-Men. This has been the biggest focus of fans and news sites alike following the announcement, and it makes sense why. Getting the X-Men back is a huge gain for Marvel. Like I said in my original video in December, it's not just one character plus some of their enemies or 4 characters plus enemies. It's literally thousands of characters, and great ones at that. They're also different because with them, Marvel is going to have to find a way to draw audiences into a reboot of the X-Men, a movie franchise that has been going for almost 20 years now. As with Spider-Man, a large part of the intrigue will most likely come from it just simply being in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The fact that Avengers vs. X-Men is now a genuine possibility. But they're going to need more than that to keep the average viewer interested past that. So today, I'm going to go over some of the things I think they should do with the X-Men now that they're home. As with the last video, I'll talk directors first. This one's a lot harder than last time, as the X-Men have been around a while, and have gone through a lot of good directors, so it's hard to think of any other ones. To me, X-Men stories have a lot of heart to them with a core team dynamic, but they also tend to have a bit of a dark edge to them with characters like Wolverine and Magneto, and a lot of their themes. The first director that comes to my mind here is J.A. Bayona. He directed the 2016 drama A Monster Calls, which was pretty well received by critics, and of course he's also directing this year's Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. Again, I'm not sure why I thought of him first, but I think he'd probably do a good job. My second choice is, in some respects, kind of unlikely, which is Ava Duvernay. She's an acclaimed director of movies like Selma and Netflix's 13th, and is directing this year's A Wrinkle in Time for Disney. She apparently was approached by Marvel to direct Black Panther, but they couldn't agree on the movie's direction. A lot of her movies tend to focus on important issues of race in America, and of course the X-Men and mutants and all that are really at the end of the day just one big metaphor for all that. She likes to put black characters in the lead role to make up for their misrepresentation in movies. So I think if she directed X-Men, maybe it could be one with Storm leading the team, or at least one where she has a larger role. Again, just a thought, but I do think she'd do a great job with an X-Men movie. The last choice I'm going to mention today is Frank Darabont, a talented director behind such films as The Shawshank Redemption, The Green Mile, and The Mist. He's also worked on TV shows like The Walking Dead and Mob City. I think he'd bring the right weight to the movie while also giving it its edge and spectacle. It's also worth noting he was considered to direct Gambit at some point, but was replaced by Gore Verbinski. Now, to the casting. This one's even harder to do than the Fantastic Four. The Four have been plagued with miscastings, other than Michael Chiklis, but the X-Men have, for the most part, been pretty well cast. Hugh Jackman, Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen, James McAvoy, Michael Fassbender, all well picked for Wolverine, Professor X, and Magneto respectively. My choices were hard, but I'm thinking maybe Mark Strong for Professor X, and then it's between Christoph Waltz and David Morrissey for Magneto. With the core X-Men themselves, I'm going to cast the team I'd personally like to see, but of course we might get a different version. For me, I'm thinking Richard Madden or Armie Hammer as Cyclops, Scott Eastwood as Wolverine. For Jean Grey, I'm thinking maybe someone like Alexandra Breckenridge or Rose Leslie. I also thought of Elena Satine, but she's already played Lorelei in the MCU, as well as being Dreamer on The Gifted. Whoever plays Jean Grey, it should be a natural redhead, that way her hair doesn't end up looking just a smidge too red like it did with Famke Janssen. I've heard Dave Franco brought up a lot as a choice for Iceman, which I think he'd probably be good in the role. Assuming it doesn't get sacked by Disney, his brother James Franco is set to produce and star in a multiple-man movie sometime soon. Beast will most likely be mocap this time around, so with him we mostly need someone with a good voice to play him. I'm honestly thinking Joel Edgerton. He's pretty popular right now, and I think he'd be a good Beast. As for Storm, I would usually pick Lupita Nyong'o, but she's of course in Black Panther, so next in line is probably Sonequa Martin Green, who's currently starring in Star Trek Discovery. Rogue is even harder to cast, but it'll probably be Kea Scodelario for me, or maybe Lindsay Fonseca. I think the latter would be a great choice, but she was already in Agent Carter. Her role was kinda minor in that. She was barely in Season 2, but still. With Nightcrawler, I'm gonna go with Bill Skarsgård. He's used to wearing heavy makeup for roles, as he did it for Pennywise in It, but I think he'd just look right for the role. Last but not least is Kitty Pryde. She should definitely be the youngest member of the core team. I used to say mostly Kiernan Shipka, but she recently got cast as Sabrina the Teenage Witch, so she'll probably be pretty busy. So my main choices are Haley Steinfeld and Horizon Guardiola. I'm not going to cast anyone else from there, as there are just so many characters to pick from. But I'd also like to see Colossus, Psylocke, and Magik on the team. Story-wise, I want to see villains we haven't really gotten before. I think Magneto, Mystique, and the Brotherhood should certainly be present, but I don't think that they should be the main villains anytime soon. We've gotten that before. I also think they should back off a little bit on Phoenix, at least for a little while. Villains I'd like to see are Mr. Sinister, Bastion, the Purifiers, Mojo, maybe even some Arcade. I also like the sound of Shadow King, but with his prominence on Legion, they might not want to do that one. Now, I do think the first movie with the X-Men should be Avengers vs. X-Men, probably coming sometime in either 2021 or 2022. Maybe, however, I don't think it should be exactly like the comics. In the comics it revolved mostly around the Phoenix, but I think that's been done by now, so I'd like to see something else. I think this story should mostly focus on the X-Men and mutants just being discovered by the Avengers and eventually general public. Them trying to figure out if they can trust the X-Men, etc. But I think the main villain story should revolve around a reimagining of the Onslaught saga. Obviously not quite as destructive, but I think that would be a good substitute for the Phoenix. Now before I wrap this up, I am also going to briefly mention Wolverine. I think they should make movies about him, but not immediately. I think they should wait just a little while with him. When they do, here's what I'd like to see. An R rating, because that worked really well for Logan. In the director's chair, we need someone who's good at telling brutal stories, so I'm thinking it's between Taylor Sheridan or Stephen S. DeKnight. Villains-wise, I'd like to see the likes of Omega Red, Romulus, Ogun, the MCU version of the Hand, Gorgon, and maybe Wendigo, and then Sabretooth. But this is all stuff I'd personally like to see done with the X-Men in the MCU. As far as how they're suddenly here, one theory I've heard that I like is that Professor X at some point erases humanity's memories of mutants after some kind of incident. If Avengers vs. X-Men was about Onslaught, it's possible the mind-wiping could be accidentally reversed, which is how everyone remembers. But what do you guys think? What are some directors and actors you'd like to see star in Marvel's X-Men? What are some villains and stories you'd like to see? Let me know all your thoughts and theories in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.
If I could save time in a bottle, the first thing that I'd like to do is to save every day till eternity passes away, just to spend them with you.